Welcome to the Walk-Ons. I am Drew McDonald here with our guest today is from Macon, Georgia, 13 WMAZ. Avery Braxton, how you doing today, Avery?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. So Avery is from Georgia. He works in Macon as a sports reporter, but your first job was actually in news, wasn't it?
Yeah, my first job was in news. 13 WMAZ is in the same market that I actually graduated from. So I went to Mercer University. The path to the job was definitely a little interesting. In school, like I applied for just as many sports internships as I did news internships, but sports internships just never landed. I think just about everybody in this business knows for every 5 news jobs that are out there, there's one sports job. Kind of the same thing goes for internships. So I took all news internships while I was in school, and kind of whenever I had the opportunity, I would jet off with the sports reporters when I had a chance, do a little something when the opportunity presented itself. But my first actual job, I was interning with WMAZ. That was the last internship I had, and they offered me a job in news, and I took it. And I think the kind of the MO for me was a lot of the reporters that I really admire, who ended up being fantastic sports reporters, fantastic sports analysts and anchors and whatever else you want to be, is they started in news, learning how to write, learning how to shoot things a certain way, learning how to storytell. And I think that really kind of paid off for me. So for a whole year, I was a news reporter doing the daily grind. I was a nighttime reporter actually, which kind of worked out well because with sports, everything's nights and weekends anyway, so it wasn't much of a transition. But it kind of came around one day. My boss called me into her office and kind of talking to me about some performance things and what the year was looking like for me. And then she was like, "Well, why haven't you applied for such and such a job, the sports anchor who was leaving?" And I was like, I didn't even know I could do that. And from there, it was just kind of all the pieces kind of fell into place. I went through an official interview and application process, and lo and behold, I'm the new weekend sports anchor. So everything since then has been kind of a whirlwind and figuring things out, but it's been a heck of a lot of fun, man. I really enjoy what I do now, so I wouldn't change the path for anything.
So back in Mercer, how were you kind of like involved back then with journalism?
Okay, so when I was at Mercer, I really had my fingers in kind of a lot of pots. I did worked just about every medium that you can work in. I did print journalism with our newspaper, our newspaper. I was on the radio side doing radio stories with GPB Macon. We had a really cool collaboration at Mercer where they have different media partners, whether it be the local newspaper, the Telegraph, GPB Macon, as well as we had a ESPN3 program in-house at Mercer. So you got to work with all those media professionals on a daily basis every day. So I got my hands dirty doing a lot of different things, learning how to do a lot of different things with different kinds of media, making stories in different mediums. And it really just kind of paid off for me just because I have kind of an understanding of what it takes to just get it done. And it made me a better storyteller all around. I think as far as TV goes, the TV program isn't the strongest, broadcast program isn't the strongest. So I was doing the ESPN3 program that we had there, working in graphics, working in camera work, and then eventually it got to the point where they were letting me do some sideline reporting as I got, as a junior and a senior. But even before then, me and another student actually created what we called the Bear Report, which is where we took, highlights from the ESPN programs and showed, what was going on in sports from a visual perspective, because before then we really only had the newspaper. So it was really cool for me to kind of learn how to do that and mold myself into kind of a sports anchor before I ever really had a real opportunity to do it. And it panned out really well. They actually took that show that we created, made it curriculum for a semester. So I had a chance to kind of teach people how to do the things that I more or less taught myself or learned from some of my professors on the side. And it really made me and people around me better. So like I said, wouldn't trade anything for the world. It really forced me to kind of pick up the slack that, maybe I wasn't seeing on the academic side and do it myself.
Were you there for the Duke upset or no?
Say again?
Were you there for the Duke upset in basketball or no?
No, so the Duke upset is really crazy because I had already accepted, my scholarship money and everything like that as a senior in high school. And I remember doing kind of the morning announcements and things like that when I was in high school. And when it came up that Mercer was going to play Duke, and a lot of my friends and faculty from my high school knew that I was going to Mercer. They were talking all the junk, man. All the smack talk. And I was like, listen, when we beat Duke, I don't want to hear anything about it. So I actually made kind of announcement on the morning announcements that day that, hey, Mercer plays Duke today. Just be ready for this upset. When it actually happened, I was watching it. It was finals time and that kind of thing. So people the teachers let you watch, the NCAA tournament, and I got to watch them kind of win live. And I mean, nobody could tell me anything that day. I was up and down the hallways talking all that good smack, and it was really great. So yeah, that was the year right before I became a freshman at this.
What would your advice be, I guess, to new college students that want to get involved in journalism?
I would just say be open to anything. I think that was really the best advice that I got. Don't be afraid to do things in news because it's going to make you a better writer. It's going to make you a better storyteller. Don't be afraid to try different mediums and figure out what works best for you, because you may think that you're just the best thing since sliced bread in broadcast journalism when you walk into school, but you may find that you are really good as a long form digital reporter that way. And I think that the biggest thing is we try to pigeonhole ourselves as not just as reporters or journalists, but as people in general. And I think when you got to open your mind up to the possibilities and to what is really kind of available to you, regardless of what your resources may look like, that's really when you make some of your best work.
Right around COVID-19, it's kind of tough for sports news to cover because no sports happening. How have you kind of been creative at making for stories?
I think in the beginning, it was really easy to kind of find a bit of the low-hanging fruit as we were all trying to figure out what we wanted to do moving forward. So, I did the stories with the seniors and, losing their senior year and, the stories like that. They were kind of gloom and doom. And I was like, I don't want to stick in the gloom and doom. We understand what's happened as sports journalists. We understand what's happened as a community. So there's no sports. Let's go make some sports. I started talking to, local gym trainers about how they're keeping people fit. I started talking to local athletes about, hey, you're at home. What does it look like working out from home? I actually started a segment called Social Skills that I was doing on the weekends, where I take some of the videos of athletes in our local market that I've seen as far as them working out, or maybe it's a funny TikTok they made, anything like that I felt like could be used as content that I might not have used before. I really kind of went out of my way to make sure that that was something that people could see. So I think people have really responded well to the social skills segment. I get messages in my DMs now of kids who made these funny videos and things like that, and people like seeing themselves on TV, man. So anytime you can, make content, I think has been really positive for us. We've gone kind of out of our way to tell some maybe a little more unique stories. My coworker Marvin James has started an Amped Up series, kind of talking about people staying fit, staying healthy in different ways, whether it be, the generic taking something off the internet and flipping it so you do it a different way, or, different trainers and things like that in the area who are not only teaching people how to do things through Zoom and everything else, but also, just eating right and what your diet looks like. We've kind of taken bits and pieces from all over the place and tried to make them as entertaining, as informative as possible. And I think people kind of understand, hey, we don't have sports. And when we do have legitimate sports news, we report that. When the NFL draft came around, Jake Fromm is from our area. We had several kids actually from our area that were in the draft this year. And so that was a really big time for us and a really busy time for us. And that was kind of the first time in a couple of weeks that it felt like, all right, things are kind of back to normal in some sense of the word. So I think the best thing you can do, something my dad always told me was improvise, adapt, and overcome. And that's kind of been the name of the game for me and, my coworkers and any other journalists who are doing this job right now, because it ain't normal. It's not going to be normal for a while. So all you can do is make the best of it.
Have you seen the Coach Doug's news?
Say again?
You seen the Coach Doug's news on for sports?
Oh, you're talking about the Madden, the Madden coach, or not Madden coach, but the NCAA coach? Yes. I think that's something that's been really kind of interesting how different people have made content out of some of the esports. Like I've done a couple of stories of people who are, semi-professional esports players, or I had one family who actually did a live stream for like a week straight.
Oh my God.
Didn't turn it off at all, just playing things like Halo 5 and Apex, things like that. I think esports really has had a chance to be front and center. I think it's been really cool. I've got a buddy of mine, David Cheeley, who's kind of made a NCAA series out of HBCUs playing against SEC schools and what that could look like. And it's been interesting. It's really been entertaining. It's different. And I think some of those esports things have been really cool. The Barstool doing that kind of story and making it interesting and making it something that people care about, because, I mean, the grand scheme of things, we've been waiting on an NCAA game for the last 6 years now. Now that all these things are coming out about athletes being able to make money from their likeness and their name, I think it's going to be kind of interesting to see if we get a NCAA 21, 22 sometime in the future. I know I'm gonna buy it. I mean, that's an easy $60. That's gotta happen.
So we're making it one time, and I loved making food there. I loved. You been to S&S yet?
Yes, I have been to S&S.
Oh,
S&S is fantastic. Really good. Really good. As far as, I guess, local cuisine that I've had lately, I hit up Anderson's Diner last week, and I mean, when I tell you that food was off the chain, it's interesting because you gotta be 6 feet apart. You kind of gotta look over the glass a little bit so you can understand exactly what you want to eat. But when it came down to it, I opened that styrofoam plate up. It was delicious. So I feel bad for some of these restaurants, but I feel good that I can go out and kind of patronize them a little bit and give them some of my money, because I'm getting tired of cooking at my house.
So as a reporter, what are your biggest meals you can cook at home that's easy for you?
Cooking at home? Oh man, I'm a big pasta guy. Big pasta guy. Anything that I can make that's gonna last me, 3, 4, 5 days, I'm all about it. I got some friends and my roommate actually doesn't really like leftovers. I'm like, yo, I will eat the leftovers until the cows come home. So pasta is a really, really big thing for me. I like, baked chicken, things like that. But I also have an Instant Pot. And if you're not on the Instant Pot, air fryer wave, you got to get on it, because I cook so fast now, and I'm cooking stuff that's going to last me, 3, 4, 5 days, like I said before. So pasta is a really big thing for me. Lasagna, which is kind of a pasta, baked chicken. I like tacos. Taco Tuesday has definitely been a thing in the house. And man, what else? I think that's more or less it. I always kind of look up recipes every now and again just to try something different. But when it gets to making sure you're gonna eat for the week, you do the things that you know.
I have one Macon trivia question for you, Avery. So in the early 2000s, Macon had an arena football team. What was the mascot?
Ooh, arena football team. I feel like I remember they came back for a little bit while I was here, and they left again. I'm stumped. You got me.
It's the Macon Knights.
Macon Knights. Yes. Okay.
And part of the team was
yeah. They had it in the early 2000s. They tried to bring it back. It was actually under a different name. I can't remember what that mascot is either. But yeah, you stumped me. You definitely you got the hometown advantage for sure.
and one of the guys on that team was Coach Boone, actually played for the Macon Knights.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, let's wrap this up with some more questions. All right, so we're going off day for you. You can choose a movie to watch on Netflix, Hulu, whatever. What do you choose to watch for a movie right now?
What do I choose to watch for a movie right now? I'm actually going through the Marvel Cinematic Universe again. I think it's something that we've kind of all more or less watched over the last 10, 12 years, however long it started. I've chosen to go through the chronological order of watching all the movies, not necessarily the way they were released, but the way they kind of flow together. So I am on the last one I watched was Ant-Man.
Okay.
So I'm got to move forward from Ant-Man. It's been interesting to kind of watch it all again, especially when you kind of know what happens and to kind of see things differently. So yeah, Marvel Cinematic Universe is something that I've been maybe bitten off a little more than I can chew, but it's been fun.
Yeah, I've been I watched Dave last week. Great show on Hulu.
Yes, Dave is funny. He's really funny. Do you like his music?
Uh, yes, it kind of grew on me a little bit. I liked Molly. It's a great song he has. Freaky Friday, I like that one too.
Russell Westbrook on a Farm. That's my favorite Lil Dicky song. But the Dave show is really fun.
Because my friend put me on Atlanta first, and I watched that. And I watched it, Dave. So kind of like listening, kind of humor, kind of like
yeah, definitely the same similar kind of humor. They're quirky artists, man. I think they've been big artists relatively, but I think they've really kind of shined through. Let their real talent kind of shine through in some of the other ways they've tackled things. TV shows are great, and some of the kind of the YouTube stuff they've done as well have been really, really good.
All right, before we go, Avery, we're trying to grow this show with guests. Who'd you recommend us talking to for journalists that you know?
Say it one more time. I missed it.
Who'd you recommend us talk to for a future guest that you know, like a journalist?
Jamarcus Fitzpatrick, my man Jay Fitz out of the KLB. Him and Nicole Hutchison, also at KLB, are really, really good. As far as kind of sports journalist goes, Corey Mose out there in Permian, Midland, Texas, he's been really good. I'm trying to think older folks that I kind of watch. A lot of my mentors are news mentors, actually. But Trevor Scales, he works Sports Center on Snapchat. I know him. He's a funny guy, really kind of easy to connect to, real easy going. And even my man, Wanya Reeves, my roommate, actually, he's a phenomenal journalist. He's really making it happen out here in Macon. So any of those guys or ladies would be a really good choice.
All right, we had some Bibb County talk. We had some Marvel talk. We had some Macon Knights talk. It's been an awesome day with you, talking to you. Thank you for your time today.